Thank you for joining me for another video. Last week, if you remember, we discussed the flood, and it's going to be the topic of discussion for a few weeks now, possibly as much as a couple months. But what we discussed specifically last week was the extent of the flood. How far did the flood go? What was the total extent of it? We didn't get into the total extent of it, but there are a couple of opinions in the Midrash that do. But really what we discussed was a global flood or a regional flood, which is the more likely of the two cases. Scientifically, we have to conclude that it's more reasonable for there to be a regional flood. And one detail that I didn't get into last week, that I'm also not going to get into really this week, but I might discuss it a little bit next week, is if you look at the surrounding regions around the area of Sumer, where the flood was. So you're looking at civilizations being present, full-blown civilizations being present right at the same time as the flood. Okay, there's no interruption in settlement. There's no interruption in the civilization itself. As if flood waters came over, washed it clean, and then in comes another people a few hundred years later. You're not going to see that in the in the archaeological record in the area surrounding this particular region of the Middle East. China was around. Okay, not China as we think of it, but there were early settlements in China. And actually, as it just so happens, this happens to be roughly the same time that Emperor Yu, the guy that they credit with founding Chinese civilization, Yu was his name, Yu in English. So it looks like he probably lived around this time. It also looks like there was also a flood on the Yellow River in China at the same time, which makes total sense, but it appears that you actually saved people, but this isn't like a full-blown flood story like the Genesis narrative has. It's not a full-blown Mesopotamian flood story. This is just kind of a small riverine flood, and really that's where the parallels end. China, Egypt, the northern portions of the Middle East, the Caucasus, that region, they appear to have been settled and continuously settled at the same time as the flood. So regional flood is our best bet that I'm on. But this week we're going to get into a different aspect of the flood. We're going to talk numbers today. Why? Because, it stood out to me. And that's, in all honesty, that's what I'm talking about every week, is just what stands out to me. And what I think would make a pretty decent, pretty informative and perhaps interesting video. So today we're going to be reading the first 10 verses of chapter 7. So let's jump right into it. Chapter 7 verse 1 says, Vayomer Hashem leNoah. Hashem said to Noah, Bo ata v'chel betcha el heteva. He says to Noah, come you and your entire household to the ark. Ki otcha ra'iti sadik lefanai bador hazeh, because I've seen that you are righteous in this generation. Another way to translate that would be to say, because I have seen you as righteous before me in this generation. But here, in my understanding it, best way to understand it would be because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Verse 2, Mikol habehema hatahora tikach lecha shiv'a shiv'a ish ve'ishto. So it says, of every behema, every domesticated animal, tahora, clean. So we're talking about kosher species here, or perhaps not kosher species as much as species that Noah would have understood to be clean animals. Tahora literally means clean. It says, take these clean animals, take of every clean animal, clean domesticated animal. 7, meaning 7 pairs, 7 on this side, 7 on that side, right? Ish ve'ishto, male and female, although literally it's a man and his wife. Min habehema asher lo tohora, but of the domestic animals that are not clean, he shnaim ish ve'ishto. That one, it should be 2, only 2, a man and his wife, literally a man and his wife, but a male and a female. We are in verse 3. Gam, also me'ov hashemayim, from the birds of the heavens, shiv'a shiv'a zachar. This is interesting that it says it this way. Zachar unqeva, 7 and 7. Now it literally says male and female. It doesn't say a man and his wife. I just think that that's really sort of interesting that when it comes to mammals, that's what it said. L'chayoth zer'a al pnei chal ha'aretz, so that we can keep seed, or to keep seed alive on the face of the land, or the country, or the earth. I lean toward the land. Although the country would also be reasonable, the earth would also be acceptable in sort of this broader mindset of, as if Noah inherited the entire earth. Okay, so we're keeping, seed, life alive on the entire earth, right? So that's, it could be a generalized earth, it could be a specific, this land, this country, that sort of a thing, but the idea here is that, and I'm sure you've already gathered it, the idea here is that Noah is preserving life, the local life, local wildlife, and as it just so happens, local human life, although the local human life is only 8 people. So, that would get really fun, after a couple generations or so, if they were the only human beings left on the planet. It would get really fun in terms of genetic, let's say genetic hiccups, okay? Because obviously if you marry too closely to each other, you breed, that's the right word, just sounds wrong. If you mate with someone who's too closely related to you, it causes issues, and several successive generations of doing that can also cause issues. How exactly the Jewish people, who are all related to each other, manage to stay diverse enough is, it's a topic for another time. You know what? No, I'll go ahead and get into it. So we have converts that come in. We are all related to each other, but in the early days of the Israelite nation, Obviously, they didn't all marry their cousins, but you will see it in the lives of the patriarchs. Abraham, according to tradition, married his niece Sarah. Isaac married his cousin Rebecca, and Jacob married two of his cousins who were sisters. We'll talk about that when the time comes, but there's also a tradition that says that the maidservants were half-sisters to Jacob's wives, and so really Jacob officially married two sisters and unofficially married their other two unofficial sisters. I am way off topic, and I don't even remember what verse I'm on. Oh yeah, I do. So we're starting in verse 4. Ki liyamim od shiv'a anochi mamtir al ha'aretz 40 yom wa 40 layla. So he says that because in a week's time, in 7 days' time, literally in like 7 days more, I am going to rain on the earth, to send rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And we're actually going to focus exclusively on this verse this week. But I'm going to continue reading. Laila. Ubachithi et kal hayaqum asher asiti me'al ben. So he says that I'm going to just get rid of it. I'm going to blot out every existence, that's what this one says, all existence. I'm going to blot out all life that I have made, he says, God says, upon the face of the earth, or face of the ground. The word used here is dama. It can mean earth in the traditional sense of like the planet. It can mean ground, dirt. This is the same word that Adam is taken from, the same root word that the word Adam is taken from. So it means dirt or ground. Ground is probably best here. ויעש נוח ככל אשר סיוהו Hashem. So Noah did everything that Hashem commanded him. وَنوح ben 600 shana, and Noah was 600 years old. وَهَمَّبُ الْحَيَّا مَيْمْ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ, and the flood was water on the earth, or on the land, or probably a better way to translate that to where it makes a little bit more sense in English would be that the flood waters were on the earth, or the flood waters were on the land. Okay, what verse am I in here? Zan. So 7, verse 7. ויבוא נוח ובנו ואשתו ונשבנו איתו אל הטבע. And so Noah came and his... Okay, so this one rearranges things a little bit differently. It says that they all went into the ark to... Lost my place over here. They went into the ark because of the waters of the flood. I would translate it probably something a little bit closer to... They went with him into the ark away from the flood waters, away from the waters of the flood. It's that mem. It's just kind of, it just, in my mind, it just means get away. So, either one. Just do whatever is in your just understand it however is in whatever translation you may or may not have. Verse 8. Verse 8. So, min habemma hatahorra, from the clean beast, the clean domesticated beast. Umin habehema asher enena tahorra, and from the beasts that are these domestic animals that are not clean. Umin ha'of v'chala asher rames al ha'adama, and from every bird and from every creeping thing on the earth. Creeping thing would be like, snakes, lizards, bugs, presumably. Can't have an ark full of animals without at least a couple of flies, right? Verse 9. Shnaim Shnaim. I love how it says it like that. Shnaim Shnaim. Ba'u el Noah. 2 by 2 they came to Noah. El Hateva, to the ark. Zachar unqiva, male and female. Ka'asher siwa Elohim et Noah. As God, here it doesn't use the term Hashem, it uses the term God. As God commanded Noah. And verse 10, this is going to be the last verse. وَيْهِ لِشِبْعَةِ هَيَمِيمْ وَمَهَ مَبُلْ هَيُّ عَلَى أَرْضٍ. And after the 7 days, well, it says, so literally it says, and they were the 7 days, and the waters of the flood were on the earth. So after a period of 7 days, then the waters came on the earth. So let's look at verse 4. So you're going to see that God tells Noah that in 7 more days I'm going to send the flood, and it's going to rain. Actually, specifically, he says, I'm going to send rain, and it will rain for 40 days and 40 nights. I think it's interesting that it says 40 days and 40 nights. So that's actually what we're going to talk about for the bulk of this video. But for right now, let's go back to what I did mention a couple of weeks now, or a few videos ago, I should say, maybe, that there is a tradition that Methushelah, if you were raised believing that the genealogies give the literal years of the lives of a single individual, so Methushelah would be the oldest person, recorded person to have ever lived at 969 years. I've also shared that my understanding of that is that it was not a single individual, it was a dynasty, but that's not really that important here. There's a tradition that Methushelah died 7 days prior to the flood, and in this case it would have been Methushelah died. Everybody knows he's righteous, and only Noah knows that there's a flood coming. And now that he sees Methushelah dying, he understands the flood is going to come. Why does it say 7 days later? Well, because the earliest period of mourning, I guess I should say the shortest mourning period, the first stage of mourning in Israelite culture lasts for 7 days. It's called, if you're familiar with the Anglophone Jewish communities, meaning Jewish communities in English-speaking countries, a lot of times they'll say, oh, yeah, he's sitting Shiva or sitting Shiva. So Shiva is the 7 days. Sitting Shiva means that he's mourning. He's in the most intense time, well, second most intense time of mourning. Second only to immediately after discovering that someone's died. And this would be like family members that would be mourning during this time. And the community, in many cases, will mourn for the first 7 days. I had the unfortunate I don't even know the right way to say it. Unfortunately, it happened to me. There we go. That's a good way to say it. This past week, that a friend of mine from the synagogue passed away. I'm on the Chevra Kadisha. I'm a part of the burial society, and one of the things that we do is we prepare bodies for burial. Obviously, men prepare male bodies, women female bodies, right? And so I actually was called upon to do what's called a tahara on my friend. And he wasn't my age or anything. He was much older than me. He has grandkids my age. So he's not. It's not like nobody expected. Oh wow, it just came out of nowhere. It was. We all knew that his time was drawing short, but. I would like to, and I should have said this at the beginning, I would like to dedicate this video in his memory today. His name was Cy Fox. Simcha Isaac ben Ephraim was his Hebrew name. But so I'd like to dedicate today's video in his honor, in his memory, because he was a friend. And it was, I wish I could say that it was a pleasure to do his tahara, to do the ritual cleansing of his body before burying him, but it was my friend, It's not really something that, I take pleasure in, and certainly not if it's my friend, but let's move on before I tear up. So, Noah knew that after 7 days, then the flood would come, because Noah was family to Methuselah, and Methuselah had passed away, and so 7 days, that's the tradition. Is it literally true? I don't know. But it certainly explains why God tells Noah here that, hey, listen, man, in 7 days' time, then we are going to you're going to see the rain, and it's going to rain for 40 days and 40 nights. Now, did it rain hard for 40 days and 40 nights? Well, no, the text doesn't say that. Living in Florida for the last 13-ish years or so, I can tell you that I've seen times when it has rained every day for a month or two straight. Does that mean it was hard rain the whole time? Well, no, it just means that it rained a little bit every day. Why? Because this is Florida, and because I live in an area that used to be a swamp until, maybe 100 years ago when they drained it, So, of course, it's going to rain a lot here, right? So, let's talk about, let me scroll down just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So, let's talk about the 40 days of, 40 days and nights, I should say, of rain. Why 40 days? Why does the text tell us 40 days? Why not? I mean, the other Mesopotamian traditions, who have this story, they give different amounts of time. I think one of them it's 1 day, one of them it's 7 days. Why 40 days? Why does the Torah have 40 days of rain and 40 days of 40 nights of rain as well? Well, I decided to look into that. This was a few years ago when I decided to look into it, and you get the benefit of my research on it. As it turns out, there is not a single unified position on that, because of course there's not, right? So there are two opinions. One is that it's literal, that literally for 40 days and 40 nights it rained. The other one is that the 40 is a symbolic number. Okay, I side with the symbolic number side because 40 is just too wild of a number. But if we're going to say that it was literal, okay, so maybe it didn't rain heavily. Maybe it didn't rain all day or all night. Maybe it just got like 5 minutes here or there. I don't know. There's also a tradition that the rain started out gentle, and only later on it became, a torrent. So there's that backing up the, maybe it wasn't hard rain the full 40 days and 40 nights, model of it, I guess. So why 40? Well, as it turns out, I'm not the only one that asked that question, because of course I'm not. So the Midrash tells us, the Midrash is good for a lot of things. Giving a single answer about any one subject, it's not good at, because it's just a collection of teachings about it. So Midrash says that during the first 40 days of human gestation, the baby is formed. Okay? That's not medically accurate by modern science, okay? But the idea is for the first 40 days, this baby is formed, and after 40 days, it's in the full human form. It just needs to grow for the next remaining to be born, okay? Like I said, that's not medically accurate. We can't fault them for what they just didn't know, okay? And nobody's claiming that they were divinely inspired. Now, let me rephrase it. Some people claim they were divinely inspired and that this is divine inspiration behind that 40 days and it's the same as the Torah. No, it's not. Okay? Don't even fool yourself. You who is the daughter of a female black cat, who is the daughter of a female black cat, you burn it. You take the ashes and you spread it around your bed at night, and then in the morning you're going to see footprints that look like bird footprints, and those are demons' footprints. Well, now how do I know those aren't bird footprints? I mean, it's not like houses back then were, airtight like they are now. How do I know those aren't, a pigeon, a hummingbird? Well, maybe not a hummingbird. That might be a bit much. How do I know that? The rabbis are a little bit out there sometimes, okay? But that doesn't change the fact that what they say, there's a reason they say it. And if you know the reason, okay, great. Here, they say that 40 days of human gestation, let's get past the fact that that's not accurate, and let's look at what they actually teach about here. So it teaches that the 40 days and nights of rain corresponds to the first 40 days of human gestation. It is a measure for measure punishment on the generation of the flood for corrupting they bastardized children. They produced bastard children. They at least from the Israelite perspective, they destroyed these families. They forced themselves upon these women, and they forced them to have their children, which corrupt, let's say, type of person, a new breed of humanity, maybe. I don't know. That sounds racist. It's not meant to. But I don't know how to say it. You understand what I mean. So metaphorically, a new type of humanity. So another possible explanation is that there are quite a few transformative events in the Torah. Not just in the Torah, but in the entirety of the Tanakh, where 40 days or 40 years or something along, with the number 40, plays an important role. Okay, just to give you a few quick ones. So Moses was on Mount Sinai for 40 days before the giving of the Torah. Moses sent spies to spy out Canaan for 40 days. When they came back with a bad report, God sentenced the Israelite nation to wander in the desert for 40 years. And he says very plainly, a year for every day that the spies were on their mission. Jonah The prophet Jonah warned the city of Nineveh for 40 days. Now this could all be symbolic language to say that what's happening with the flood is a transformative event. It is a significant transformative event. Okay, now let me tell you something really interesting that really sort of takes that idea a little bit further, just a little tiny step further, and just sort of goes crazy with it. Okay, so halachically speaking, right? So according to Jewish law, a mikveh, the minimum amount of water that it can have in it is 40 se'ah, right? So 40 again, right? So now you may be thinking to yourself, but Judah, I'm not Jewish. Maybe you're Christian, maybe you're Muslim, maybe you're a Hindu, atheist, Buddhist. I don't know. What is a mikveh, right? So let me tell you, a mikveh is a gathering of water for a ritual bath for the cleansing of impurities. Okay, you find the same thing in several other religions. Christians, this is where your baptism comes from. Okay, the difference between the Jewish concept, or should I say the Israelite concept, because it's pan-Israelite, not just the modern Jews, meaning all 12 tribes, as opposed to just the tribes that compose the Jewish nation today. Includes Samaritans, includes the descendants of Israelites who were scattered to God knows where in the past, who have forgotten their history. So a mikveh is used multiple times, whereas in Christianity it tends to be only used once, specifically on conversion, or she has to wait, however long before she has a bath. It's a ritual cleansing. Conversion, any convert will go through a mikveh. We'll do, before the holidays, major, like important holidays, a lot of men will go to the mikveh. Notably, there are some Hasidic groups today where the men themselves in a mikveh. So the idea is it is designed to purify you ritually. So we have 40 se'ah of water is the bare minimum for a mikveh. Well, let's say that maybe a se'ah of water fell every day. I don't even have to go that far. I could just say that 40 days corresponds to the 40 se'ahs of water, right? You can obviously see where we're going there, or where I'm going there. This is a transformative event, because any flood is going to transform the landscape. Let's just be open and honest about that, okay? Doesn't matter where it is, it will transform something. Okay, this is a transformative event that brings forth a new type of humanity, the post-diluvian humanity, and it, oh yeah, by the way, happens to also be mimicking ritual purification in a ritual bath, in a mikveh. And now we can see what the Torah is very clearly telling us about what's going on here. Is it literally 40 days and 40 nights of rain? Is it, did the flood literally last for as long as the Torah says? Well, that's not important. What is important is the fact that it was transformative. It ritually cleansed the earth, and it brought forth a new type of human being. not a new race, not a new subspecies, but a new mentality in humanity. So, that being said, I'm done for this week. So, until next time, shalom.